exciting day today because Depeche Mode has released today their, I think, 13th, could be 13 or 14th studio album, and I'm a big fan of Depeche Mode, and it occurred to me that as I was anticipating the mail today, I have not done a Depeche Mode collections video. And while I don't have everything, would be almost impossible. I'm sure there's a few people out there that have everything. I have a pretty decent Depeche Mode collection, and I thought, why not come show you all of that, and then also at the end of the video do an unboxing of their new album. So I'm going to kind of do this in segments here, starting with studio albums. Then I think I'll do 12-inch singles, which there's so many. And then I might do some live albums, compilations, something like that. So then at the end of the video, if you stick around, I'll come back and we'll look at the new album Spirit that is released today from Depeche Mode when it arrives. So with that said, there's a lot to show you, so I don't think I better poke around too much here, because there's a lot of material and I'm missing so much. But I'm very happy with my Depeche Mode collection, but you know, if you wanted to try to be complete on Depeche Mode, you got your work cut out for you, because there is a lot. But looking at studio albums, I think what we'll do is just start at the beginning and work our way through. I'm not going to rank these, or I'll just maybe talk about some favorite songs or something like that. But Depeche Mode were formed in the early 80s, I think 1980, and maybe even prior to that, but I think they were really officially a band in 1980, and in 1981 they released their debut album called Speak and Spell. And I will say, these early albums, particularly this one, I absolutely love the artwork. I just think it's unique and different, and really way ahead of its time. Depeche Mode were quite a different band here than really the rest of their catalog, because they had Vince Clarke in the band on their first album, and he was one of the founding members of Depeche Mode. Only recorded this one and only album with them before he moved on to Yazoo, or Yaz as they were known in the US, and then probably even more so well known for Erasure. And Erasure is still around today and still recording, and they have a very deep catalog themselves, and I have quite a lot of them. But Vince Clarke was, in some people's mind he was Depeche Mode, in other people's mind they're better without him, or didn't skip a beat. So in my mind it's a little bit difficult to tell the difference, but this album does have a little bit of a unique feel to it. And if you like Vince Clarke's contributions to Depeche Mode, and if you like Erasure, and if you like Yazoo, then you probably would say this is one of their best albums. Notable tracks on here: New Life was a very early single, Just Can't Get Enough, Dreaming of Me. It's a great album, and it's a great place to start, even though it's 1981. Again, ahead of its time, and really, really good sounding. So this is a reissue. I don't have an original of this. I wish I did. Hard to find in good condition, but this is a 180 gram remastered reissue from a few years ago, so really nice sounding. Second album came out in 1982. This was, they recruited Alan Wilder, who was with the band, I think, 13 years or something like that, a long time. So at that point they were a different trio of David Gahan, Martin Gore, and Alan Wilder for quite a lot of years, through their really peak period, really. A Broken Frame, similar concept, I think, on artwork as the first album. Very unique, very different, and unexpected for more of a dance synth band. I just really actually like it a lot, and I would, if I was one to frame albums, if I had room to frame album covers, the first two albums from Depeche Mode would be great to frame, because they're very picturesque. Notable tracks on this one, maybe not as hit-driven as the first album, but equally successful. I'm not even sure what the singles were on this album. If I'm being honest, Leaving in Silence maybe was a single, and perhaps See You, or Nothing to Fear. But it's a good album. Maybe a bit of a departure from where they were heading after this album, but I think it was definitely a transition period for them, getting to the point where they could start having confidence in songwriting, because Vince Clarke was on the debut album the primary songwriter, and as the other bandmates, particularly Martin Gore, kind of took over the music portion of what Vince was doing on the early album. I think it took an album or two for them to kind of find their flow and their niche, but the next album was probably a better return to form as far as I'm concerned. This is called Construction Time Again, and this is an original copy. I don't have a remastered going through some of this, it's like, why didn't I buy a remastered copy of this? I've got remastered copies on most of their others, but for whatever reason, this one I don't, so something to put on the list. Love in Itself was a good single. Everything Counts was a big hit, and I think those were the two big singles. This one, as you can see, I picked up very, very inexpensively locally. And I will say that all of my Depeche Mode, every single piece, I think almost for the most part, was bought in record stores. I've really never bought anything online from Depeche Mode. And it's always been kind of a pet project of mine, is to build my Depeche Mode collection very slowly, for no particular reason other than the fact it's like you start something and it's like, well, it's fun, I'm just going to build it over the years and watch it grow, and it really has. So anyway, third album came out in 1983, and very good album here. So I need to pick up a remastered copy of that. Next album came out in 1984, was actually their first probably breakthrough in the US a little bit. This is called Some Great Reward. This is my original copy of it. Something to Do, People Are People, Master and Servant, and Blasphemous Rumors, so this was pretty hit driven. And for me anyway, maybe it was my period to actually discover them, but for me this is where it kind of started clicking. It's like, oh, Depeche Mode, I get them. I thought this was their debut album at the time, and I think a lot of Americans did. This was a breakthrough for them in the United States, where they had already established around Europe and other parts of the world some early success, particularly with the dance and new wave and that kind of crowd. But this was a big breakthrough hit for them in America, and quite a good album. So this might be a good starting point for some of you. I do have a remastered 180-gram version of that. Now these all came with gatefolds too, but I'm not going to be able to show you them, I think, because most of them are still in their shrink. This is not an album. I guess this is more considered an EP, or maybe it's a collection of songs. It's an early compilation perhaps, but it has unreleased songs on it, and this is just simply called People Are People. It has it's got 9 songs, so maybe this was just released in certain parts of the world. I'm not sure, but it says it contains previously unreleased material. It's got People Are People on it again. It's got Told You So. It's got Love in Itself, Get the Balance Right. But then it's got a couple of non-album tracks as well. So again, this may have been designed for the American market to kind of catch up with Depeche Mode. And speaking of catching up with Depeche Mode, I pulled this out because I can remember buying this on cassette back in the day. This was the second piece I'd ever bought from Depeche Mode. Bought the vinyl version many years later, but this was really my early introduction to their early stuff, and it's called Catching Up with Depeche Mode. And I think this was specifically designed for American markets because they had some very good success with Some Great Reward, and then a lot of us, including myself, didn't know anything about their first 3 albums. So this has got a good cross mix of material from their first 3 albums. So if you're looking for a compilation, that one might be all right. From there we go to a 1986 album, which is absolutely phenomenal. I love this album, and I'm not going to say it's underrated, but I would say this maybe doesn't get enough attention that it deserves as far as like the top of their catalog. This is called Black Celebration. This is an original copy. It still sounds amazing, really. Even without the remastering, these early copies do sound pretty good, and you can see it wasn't expensive. But this is a terrific album, very dark, quite a different change of pace for them. But this was starting their kind of dark phase that they would go into the early 90s with. And A Question of Lust is a great song. Question of Time, boy, there's a lot of good songs on here. The title track, Black Celebration, Fly on the Windscreen, was a big hit, and many remixes of that one. So many remixes. As we move along here, you're going to see how many different remixes this band has had. So here's the 180-gram remastered vinyl on that one. I guess I can show you this one. I have taken it out, and really cool that the artwork here is embossed just like the original on both sides, but this one is gatefold, and the same picture there that they put on that Catching Up with Depeche Mode. And there's a lot of improvement with these remasters, so if you're a fan like myself, I mean, while the originals do sound good, these are better. And I can safely say that if you're starting a Depeche Mode collection, you may as well just get unless you're a stickler for originals, the remasters are really the way to go because they sound amazing. Here's one, I've got a couple, I don't know why, a couple of different remastered versions of it. This one here came out a few years prior to the most recent reissue campaign. This one's called Music for the Masses. This one came out in 1987. Another big hit for them. This one had Never Let Me Down Again, Strange Love, Behind the Wheel, fantastic. I absolutely love how they've mixed that with Route 66 on some remixes. Really, really solid, strong album, and this was the beginning of their really big phase, at least in America, where they became an absolute supergroup and were doing some really incredible things as far as success goes, selling out stadiums. It seemed like almost overnight that they went from obscure kind of underground kind of band to stadium filling bands. And here's the 180 gram reissue, and a different reissue of this one that doesn't even look like it's open. This might, and yeah, this one's sealed. This one may end up having to be VCLT for somebody. Maybe I'll do a contest or something like that. But getting back to their massive success, this was the album that really caused it, because even though they had built some gradual momentum going up to this album exploded and was globally huge, and probably my favorite album of the 90s, or one of my top 10 albums of the 90s. Came out in 1990 and everyone knows it. It's called Violator. This is an original copy. Now at one point these were really hard to find an original copy of. It's got a little bit of ring wear, but that's typical on a black cover. But it still sounds incredible, and I really like it, so I'm definitely hanging on to that. But of course, I had to compare it to the 180 gram reissue that came out a few years ago, and it does sound slightly better, I suppose. Don't notice the difference on this one quite as much as their early albums, but it is nice to get the gatefold, and the 180 gram is going to last longer, and there's some benefits to having both copies of your favorites like that. So that's what we've got there with Violator. I mean, as far as hits, take your pick here. The whole album was a hit. World of My Eyes, Enjoy the Silence, Policy of Truth, and of course Personal Jesus. This whole album was just an absolute tour de force, and it just propelled them to... I never thought a band like Depeche Mode would be able to achieve such huge worldwide success, because I always thought of them as alternative music, as, something that wouldn't appeal to the masses like it did. But boy, was I wrong, because that album propelled them to a level I never thought I'd see. Next album came out 3 years later. It was quite a break, and I think this was a dark period for their lead singer, David Gahan, where he was suffering from addiction, and probably difficult for him to handle all of the success that was thrown their way very rapidly, which, so common in rock and roll. But anyway, Songs of Faith and Devotion is a terrific comeback album from them 3 years after Violator. Really like it. The first song is just gritty and raw, and it's just a powerful vocal performance. You can just hear the change in him. I Feel You is what it's called. Walking in My Shoes is another great song. I really like this album, particularly at side one. And when I first heard it, I was quite surprised and quite shocked about how the band had matured and grown so much in 3 years, that they had not changed their sound so much, but deeper lyrics and, just more intense, I guess you could say. Here's a 180 gram reissue on that one. That does look sealed still as well, so I need to get on some of this stuff. From there we go to 1997, so a 4-year gap, which is, starting to become common, where artists will wait 3 or 4 or 5 years to release albums, and it's annoying. But for a band that's been around since 1980 to think that they're releasing their 13th album today, it's like, well, that's not that many records. But it really, it could have been a lot more, I suppose. But there's these long periods of downtime, side projects, and some of the other stuff we'll get into later. But Ultra came out in 1997. This is a 180 gram reissue of that. Don't have an original. And this was, 1997. Another great album. Barrel of a Gun is on this album. What do we got here? It's No Good is a really great song. Home is a great song. The Love Thieves is a great song. It's just, though, up until this point, the band really hadn't skipped a beat. I would say all of their albums are really, really good, and I would recommend them to anybody. But from here on, they did kind of have a down period, in my opinion. Next album, 2001, is maybe their weakest, in my opinion, of their entire catalog. For me, I mean, some people may love this album, and it's not bad by any means, but for me, it's a departure, and they're trying some different things, and maybe it just didn't work as well for me. But 2001's Exciter just doesn't hold up as well for me as the rest of their catalog, and maybe I could say the same thing about their next album too. In fact, I'm going to struggle here to talk about songs I love. You know, maybe Dream On is a great song. The Sweetest Condition is a good song. I Feel Loved is a good song. You know, so there's some good, memorable moments on this album. But you know, when you're comparing it to their brilliant catalog to that point, there has to be a little bit of a letdown. Now I was wrong. The next album is actually amazing. This is a big comeback for them as far as my opinion goes. Then there was another album that I'm not particularly fond of, but this next one is absolutely a gem. I love it. It's called Playing the Angel. This is really, really, really solid, and if you like Depeche Mode, this is a must for you to get this in your catalog. This is an original copy. I paid dearly for this one. I think I paid about $75 for it. Should have waited, because now you can buy it for about 25 bucks reissued, but you know, I absolutely had to have it at that time. The Pain That I'm Used to, John the Revelator is amazing. I really like I Want It All and Precious, and you know, the whole album is really good, so you can't go wrong with this one. Here's what the band looked like at that point in their career. This is 2005, so about what we got here 12 years ago. And you've got David Gahan here, Martin Gore, and Alan Wilder. And let's see, was that the last album with Alan Wilder? It may have been. I'm not 100% sure. I think it may have been. No, that was, we already reached, that wasn't Alan Wilder. That was, oh God, never mind, look it up. It's not that big a deal, but Alan Wilder had already departed the band at that point. So I'm just terrible with names, forgive me. For you guys, you're huge Depeche Mode fans out there, you know, it's not that big a deal. Anyway, the next album I'm not particularly fond of again, and I need to get an upgrade copy. Bought this one because it had a pretty bad ding on it at the store, and it was really cheap. It was like $9. And I thought, well, I'd like to add that to my collection. I have all of these albums on CD as well, but I didn't want to pay a lot for this album at the time because I just didn't really care for it that much, but I figure I can live with a little, you know, crease. Good songs on this album here. Well, Hold to Feed is pretty good. Little Soul is pretty good. Spacewalker and Perfect are pretty good. So Side C is not bad. Anyway, it's just not a terrific album. Andrew Fletcher, I think is this guy's name. Sorry, it's just bugging me. And I always think, you know, what does this guy do really? It's like, is he just the one that stands behind and push buttons? Because he doesn't write, I don't think. And I don't know, he just always seems like he's very, very behind the scenes. And maybe he's, you know, a mastermind producer or something too, so don't hold me to that. Anyway, Sounds of the Universe came out in 2009, and between that one and Exciter, I think it's my least favorite. Next up, 2013 was their last album, and this was a grower for me. The first couple times I played it, I didn't particularly think I was going to like it, but boy did it grow on me, and I really, really, really like it now. I'm so happy to say, because Delta Machine is a mighty fine album, and I love it. I think it's one of their finest works, really. And this was all kind of an American, southern Louisiana Cajun sound kind of to it. Welcome to My World is great. Angel, Heaven. There's another really good song on here. I'm trying to think. You Should Be Higher, or Should Be Higher. Really like that song. So yeah, this was a little bit of a grower for me, but it has turned out to be probably in my top 5 or 6 albums from Depeche Mode, so that's great. Anyway, that's where we're at right now with their studio albums, and at the end of the video I'm going to unbox their new album Spirit that just comes out today. So it's been 4 years since we've had a new Depeche Mode album, and I'm really ready. So I'll take a break, and I'm going to come back and show you 12-inch singles and a few other bits, and I'm looking forward to that as well. So be ready.
Kingman, Boston, San Bernardino, you get hip to this kind of tip. Go take that California trip. Get your kicks on Route 66.
Okay, thanks for sticking around. around. I think you'll like the rest of this as well. So I've got a couple things before we get to the 12-inch singles. I've got a copy on vinyl, which is a little bit hard to find, I think, 101. There's actually a promotional copy, which is really cool. One of the greatest live albums I own. I absolutely love it. I mean, I've never really heard a band that sounds so true to form live as they do in the studio, and maybe and sometimes even better because they really expand. Maybe not as synth driven and more live instruments and whatnot, but they sound incredible live. What a great band. And this is a double album that came out right after, I think, Violator, I think. But they were just, or maybe it was the next one. I'm not 100% sure what the timing of this album is, but it's fantastic. And I'm so fortunate to have a vinyl copy of that. I don't think it's impossible to find, but I think it'd be tricky. This is another promotional copy of a single, I think, that was just more to promote the 101 double live album, and I don't know if this even has a name. I think it's just really just highlights from the 101 album. And you know, all this stuff was just bought in stores as I find it, so I don't really have much information on it, but it's just cool to have, and I was pretty pleased to see it was a promo copy as well. I may have bought those at the same time, I can't remember. A couple of things I want to show you that end up being bootlegs, but they sound good. I'm really happy with the sound quality. This one I wanted to try. There's a lot of Depeche Mode bootlegs, a lot. This one I wanted to try because it's live in the city I live in, Austin, and such a strange cover. This has nothing to do with Austin, Texas, and has nothing to do with Depeche Mode that I can find, so it's just bizarre, really, but the music itself is terrific. This has got Welcome to My World and Angels, Walking in My Shoes, Precious, you know, all of their hits. And I wasn't 100% sure when I bought it was a bootleg, but I kind of figured without a barcode it probably was. And it sounds really good, so that was a good purchase for me. I think it was about $30, and live in Austin, so really neat to have that. And this one too is turned out to be a bootleg. This one is just called Violator Live, and probably didn't need this one as much, but it still sounds really good. And this is basically the entire album Violator played live on 2 LPs. So I'm not exactly sure where it came from, what venue it was used at. It might say it in here, but oh, here we go. World Violator Tour, August 4th, 1990, Dodger Stadium in LA. So there you go. Anyway, those are my bootlegs, and then 101, of course, is not a bootleg. Now this one I'm going to need somebody's help with. I have no idea what this is. This is called the Bogus Brothers, and I only got this in this plain white sleeve. I don't know anything about it, and it's called Violation 15 by Martinell Gore and the BBs, and it's a promo copy. It says for strictly DJ promo only. So if anybody knows anything about the Bogus Brothers, I don't know anything about this, and in fact I don't know if I've ever played it. So that's all the information I have. So if anybody knows anything about that, it would be useful for me. Now, 12-inch singles are really very mixed. I tried to put these in somewhat of an order from oldest to newest, but don't hold me to that because I'm not exactly sure. And some of these might be more rare than others. Again, if you happen to know if any of these are particularly rare, please let me know. And there's a lot missing. I mean, you could have a stack, you know, a mountain high of 12-inch singles from Depeche Mode if you're a big collector. And I've, you know, got a decent stack here, but nowhere near complete. I mean, it would take a lot to be complete on 12-inch singles from Depeche Mode. Here's an early one called Love in Itself 2 and live tracks. I think this was a 3-part series. There's a blue one and a red one, I think. And I don't have the red one, but I'm about to show you the blue one. These were German singles, and this one I did pay quite a little bit for. Not a lot, but I thought, you know, it seemed like maybe perhaps it might be a little on the hard to find side, so I thought $15 wasn't too bad. And it's great to have those early live takes of stuff too. So here's the other one that I have found. This one was bought at Waterloo, I can see. Depeche Mode, Get the Balance Right, and live tracks. Now I'm almost certain there's a red version of this too. I don't know the tracks on the red copy of this, but again, this is German, and it's in really nice condition, so very fortunate, I think, to have this. Now it could be very common for all I know, but they were numbered. This is number 918, so I don't know how many there were, but 918 sounds like a low number to me. Anyway, from there, I would think most of this other stuff is maybe a little bit more on the common side, but who knows. Here's a 12-inch single of Get the Balance Right, one of their early singles. Got some other B-sides on here. I'll let you look at that because we need to go pretty quick here. Here's one called Little 15, and let you look at the B-sides here. And this one I paid $10 for. Let's see, we've got New Life. Quite an interesting cover there. And B-side called Shout. So there you go. And again, I don't know if any of these are rare or hard to find. This one feels like a double. Shake the Disease. Not 100% sure if this is a double, and I really just don't have time to look that closely. It's heavy, much heavier than the others. This one is a promo copy. That's nice. Called it's called A Heart. You can see the promo sticker on stamping on the top there. Here's your B-sides if you want to take a look at that. So that one's nice. Yeah, same single here, but not a promo, and this is obviously not American in any way. Here's the sticker on it. Looks again German or Dutch or something. It's called A Heart. This is an extended mix of that. Again, you know, you could just go broke just hunting down all the worldwide variety of remixes and 12-inch singles from Depeche Mode. It would take a lot of money and time and effort to hunt them all down, but I just like picking them up as I go. Here's one without plain sleeves called People Are People. We've talked about that song already. This one was bought at Waterloo, it looks like. A lot of these were bought at Waterloo. Never Let Me Down Again. Oops. And here's your B-sides if you want to pause and take a look at that. And I love these remixes. I mean, I'm not usually a fan of remixes, but in a lot of cases, Depeche Mode's remixes are more exciting and different and fun to listen to than the studio tracks. Not always, but in a lot of times it is. Here's one called But Not Tonight. There's that. Hopefully you can read those because I just don't want to take it too far here. Here's one called Stripped. I do like that song a lot. I mentioned that before. So that's off Black Celebration. Here we go, Behind the Wheel. Now this is really cool. I really like this one because again they mix the extended mix with that old classic Route 66 song, but it's just so cool. I absolutely love it, and this is one that I actually do play quite a lot. And here's just a variety of mixes that you get on that. Here's obviously one of the biggest hits they've ever had called Personal Jesus. This one's probably very common. Oh, that cover has a little nudity on it, so be prepared. Nothing too bad, but that'll please some of you. Here's Enjoy the Silence. Another big hit from Violator. Love that song. Absolutely love that song. This has just got 1, 2, 3, 4 different versions of Enjoy the Silence on it. And again, being not a huge fan of remixes and singles, Depeche Mode is the exception to that rule. Here's Policy of Truth. Yeah, there's the back cover. Quite interesting, really. Very coincides with their videos, and that's another thing we could talk about a long time is Depeche Mode's videos. They've used Anton Corbijn for many of their videos, who is an amazing director and always has interesting stories to tell visually. And I love all of the videos from Depeche Mode. In fact, their new video for You Should not use it, You Should Be Higher, but the what's the name of their new single? Where's the Revolution? Very cool video. Got to check out their new video. What's this one? World in My Eyes. Another great song. Absolutely wonderful song. Boy, Violator. What an album. What an album Violator is. Just a masterpiece. Okay, here we are with something different here called Barrel of a Gun. And we've moved on since Violator here. What did I pay for that? $7, $7.99. That's not too bad. Yeah, just we get five versions of Barrel of a Gun. This one is The Meaning of Love. Don't know anything about it really. I don't know why someone crossed off the price, but it was purchased at Waterloo. You recognize the sticker there. Yeah, don't know anything about this one really. I think I may not have even ever played it, but this one was $9, so that's not too bad. Here's one called Only When I Lose Myself. I think we're getting into a little bit more modern stuff here. And this came out obviously, well, not obviously yet, but this is about the same time they're releasing their box sets of 12-inch singles. And we're going to get to that in a minute. Now these are very recent, so there's a big gap. I didn't keep up with the singles, and I ended up starting to like Delta Machine so much that I went ahead and got their 3, maybe there's more, but I got 3 of their 12-inch singles from Delta Machine. Got Soothe My Soul, which is a great song, really, really cool song. And I've got Heaven. This is again from their most recent Until Today studio album, Delta Machine, and Should Be Higher. So really like these, really like these. So that's it on the 12-inch singles. Apart from these box sets, I've got these 2 box sets, these Depeche Mode. This one's 1981 to 2000, oops, upside down. Yeah, 1981 to 2004. And there's a lot in here, a lot. I'll open them briefly because I don't want to take up too much time here. But you get a lot of information, a lot of music in these box sets. I'm just going to go through this one briefly. There's 1, 2, 3. These are beautiful, by the way. Sound amazing. 4, 5, 6. Each one of these has about 6 songs, so 6 times 6. There's about 36 to 40 tracks in this box set, and they're all remixes. And I think that since I don't have all of the 12-inch singles from Depeche Mode, there's lots and lots I'm missing. These box sets probably replace some of that, and very, very fortunate to have these. Now these are also available on CD. The vinyl ones are a little tricky to find. This is a limited edition. Again, I don't know the edition size, but look at my number. I didn't realize it until just now. It's 208. So I got a beautiful number on the first box set. Then there's a second box set from 1981 to 2011. And it's really pretty much the same artwork and everything, so I'm not going to bother to go through it all again. But again, it's the same 6 LPs that's numbered. This one is number 5621, so not near as good a number on this one. And I don't know if either of these 2 are rare or hard to find or whatever, but I paid at the time, I think, about $100 each for them. And well worth it, because there's a ton of music on here. And I just love it, because you get a wide range of everything. And this one goes from 2001 all the way through 2011. So yeah, it's just really, really nice to have. And since I missed out on so many of their 12-inch singles, not keeping up with vinyl through many, many years, I thought those would be really nice to have, and they are. So real quick, instead of pausing and starting again, we've gone way too long. Both Dave Gahan and Martin Gore have a lot of side projects and a lot of things they do outside of the band. I've got a few of those things, not a lot. I have Dave Gahan's Hourglass album, which is good. I think he has 1, maybe 2 other solo albums with just Dave Gahan as the artist featured, and this is the only one I have, but I like it a lot. And again, it really has caused me to think maybe I should look into getting some of his other stuff. I have this album here called Soul Savers. This is another Dave Gahan project, a different band. It's not a solo album. He's in a band called Soul Savers, and this one came out, I don't know, 2012, looks like. Excuse me. And another good album. Martin Gore probably has a lot more than this, but I have a couple things. I've got one here just called MG, which is interesting. Not terrific in my opinion, but definitely an interesting listen, that's for sure. 4 sides, beautifully packaged. This is all embossed on the back, all the song titles, which would be almost impossible to read because they didn't use any type of coloring. But very interesting, very eclectic album. And then there he released an EP, a remix EP to follow that up. So very minimal artwork on that, but again, there's a lot more I'm sure I don't have. And then this one here, I really like this one, and I think it's the only time this has ever happened, that Vince Clarke, the original guy I was talking to you about from the Speak and Spell album and Martin Gore got together and did this VCMG album. And I was really happy to see Vince Clarke come back and do that with at least Martin Gore, you know, because I think tensions were a bit high for a long period of time, but this is fantastic and very dancey, very a lot of beats. And I think the album is just called like Snake. Obviously with that top cover you can probably pick that up. But yeah, there's not a lot of tracks on here, but they're all longer, dancier songs. Really, really, really good sound, and this is terrific. So if you've never seen this, this is, let you read the hype sticker, Vince Clarke and Martin Gore. So yeah, I mean, maybe it's very common and everyone who is a Depeche Mode fan has that, but for me it was an unknown thing, and I found it at the store and I'm like, oh, ooh, that sounds interesting, and it is very good. So assuming that the mail comes today, got one more small segment to come back to, and that is to do the unboxing of Spirit, the new album from Depeche Mode that comes out today. So stick around for that, and I'll be right back. Many hours later, here we are back finally, and I have just finally received my package for the new Depeche Mode album, Spirit. So I really don't want to waste any time, and I'm going to get right into this because I've been really excited for this, and literally it's been 5 hours since I started filming this video, so today's mail was unexpectedly quite slow. So we're going to get right to the opening. I'll just zip this open real quick. I'm pretty sure that's the only thing in this box, but if there's anything else, we'll just take it out real quick. Yeah, just this one item, so good deal. So as usual, Amazon does a pretty damn good job with packaging, can't fault that. So here we go. I'm going to just unzip this. And I'm very excited about this new album, I have to say. You know, from what I've heard so far, I really like it, and I think it's going to be great. So, wow. It's quite heavy for a vinyl record, and I'm almost sure that the fourth side has an etching. So we're going to look at that as well. So here we go. There is the front cover of Depeche Mode Spirit, their 14th studio album. I did look in between all this time to get their exact count, and this is their 14th studio album. So there's the front cover. Here is the spine and the back cover. Very recent picture of the three guys there. And just so I can make sure I get it right this time, we've got Dave Gahan, we've got Martin Gore, and we've got Andy Fletcher. So after several attempts, I think I finally got that right. So anyway, there's a hype sticker. Just says Depeche Mode, new album Spirit, 2 180-gram vinyl and digital downloads. So I did today also order the deluxe CD edition of this because there's quite a lot of bonus content that comes with the 2 CD edition, and it was pretty inexpensive. I think it was $15. So I thought that would be a nice thing to have as well. And I didn't show in this video because they're all, you know, fairly common CDs, but I do have a pretty complete CD collection on Depeche Mode as well. Some nicer than others. But just going to take the shrink wrap right off of this because it's a gatefold. I always take the gatefold off of shrink wrap, or the shrink wrap off of gatefold. And I'm going to try to save this hype sticker, and I'll try to stick it on the Blake sleeve. But I'll just take a quick peek here. Oh, it's quite nice gatefold, really. So that there you have the Spirit just on a black background, and then you have the band there on motorcycles. Nice, very, very cool. And as usual, I will say, you know, if you're a Depeche Mode vinyl collector and you've heard any of their studio albums on vinyl, they all sound amazing. They really do put a lot of great quality into their pressings. And I can't tell you where this is pressed yet, but hopefully it will be as good as everything else they've done in the past. Here's LP1. You get one side of lyrics and just the flag theme again from the front cover. And I can tell you that this is beautifully packaged because inside there are lined sleeves, lined anti-static sleeves inside of the paper. So it's fantastic. You don't even have to get that. Wow, you can just see the quality. You can feel it. It just shows so perfectly. Here are the labels, and look at the vinyl. It's absolutely flawless, beautiful. This is going to sound immaculate, I can tell right now. So there you have it, and we're going to pull out quickly the second LP, because I'm almost sure that it has an etching on the fourth side. But again, we'll have the theme from both LPs. From the front cover, you've got a flag and some walking steps there. Back cover is credits and thank yous probably. And we'll just pull this out really quickly without doing any damage, hopefully. Yeah, we've got Spirit here on the side C, and side D is indeed etched. Nothing too fancy, but it's pretty nice. Just has the album logo, Spirit, on a little bit of a wasted space there. They maybe could have done a little bit more, but hard to complain because this is really nice. Really, really beautifully packaged. Just a little light dust on it, but nothing to worry about there. So yeah, again, I can tell you right now that Depeche Mode's album sound quality is amazing, and I have no doubt that this one will be too. So there you have it, the brand new studio album from Depeche Mode, Spirit, just came out today. I've had it for a grand total of 5 minutes. So with that said, I think we are finally concluding this video. I hope you've enjoyed it. There's a download code in here, but I do plan on using that for my phone. And you know, I'll have to get back to you in the comments about what I think of this record, but feel free to ask me questions, leave your opinions about anything you saw in this video. And I really had fun showing you my Depeche Mode collection. I hope you enjoyed it, and I know I'm missing a lot, nowhere near complete, especially on the 12-inch singles and all the miscellaneous things that are out there between solo albums and side projects, and there's probably a lot. So feel free to leave me any comments about must-have items that you think I'm missing, and I'd be happy to try to look into getting some more Depeche Mode or solo stuff into my collection. Alright, well, thank you so much for watching. This is a long video, and I hope a lot of you stuck through to see this great new album, and we'll check out the new studio album from Depeche Mode. So until next time, take care.